Los Angeles, a city once considered the heart of the American dream.
Nearly 54,000 people moved out of Los Angeles County between July 2024 and July 2025.
It once promised everything Hollywood stage lights the paths to fame. But today something strange is happening.
Over the weekend, dozens in San Francisco took part in a march for billionaires, voicing opposition, saying that the tax would lead to an exodus of wealth.
This continues a trend that's been building for years. The population has dropped from more than 10 million in 2020 to just under 9.7 million, census estimates show.
Hundreds of thousands of people are quietly leaving California each year. In recent years, the state has lost more than 425,000 residents. In just 2 years, the population decreased by 500,000 people.
The average gas prices here in LA County have now climbed above $6 per gallon. That's $1.30 more than when the war with Iran began.
And in a decade, nearly 6 million people have left. That's not a small number. That is a massive migration.
Difficult to avoid the harsh reality of census data, isn't it? Hey, state's doing great. We're the fourth or the fifth largest economy in the world if California was its own country. But we seem to be bleeding out residents. LA County, biggest population decline in the United States. Is this a shocker? No. What do we have going on right now in California in general? You got a billionaire's tax. You got some of the highest gas prices. You got a gas station in downtown LA that's selling gas for over $8 a gallon. It's some of the highest poverty levels in Los Angeles. You got some of the highest homelessness. You got some of the highest unhoused homelessness in California in general. You got a third of the country's homeless population living in California. Big percentage of that, LA County. You've got business taxes, California, just absolutely terrible. You got some of the highest real estate prices in the world. LA is literally world class when it comes to lack of affordability. It's number one. It's way up there. Wages have not followed. You know, with the price of gas, you can't blame people who have these massive commutes that are just sucking up gasoline for saying, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. Boop, gone. I'm going to move anywhere else. Even the adjoining counties are slightly cheaper, and they're going to get a bunch of population, which we'll read about in a second. LA County, biggest population decline in the United States. This came out March 26th. 54,000 people out of LA County in 1 year, July 1st to July 1st, 2024 to 2025. Decline is part of an ongoing trend. 2020, LA County is estimated to have more than 10 million. 2025, 9.7 million residents. 300,000 Californians took off from LA County. That is absolutely nuts. That is massive population out migration. And you know what? We've been talking about this forever. This is one of those things, just exactly like what's going on here in Washington State. You've got a millionaire tax. Yeah, I mean, California's got all kinds of taxes, just no matter what. Washington State, we don't have an income tax yet. So we're working on it, though. We're working really quickly to catch up here. And so we put in place a millionaire tax. It's signed yesterday by the governor. And, you know, all the news stories that you hear are there's going to be a population exodus, just like we have seen in real time happen in Los Angeles County. You've got an out-migration of people because California doesn't have the business industry pull anymore to bring businesses in. You don't want to have your company relocate to Los Angeles because it's so expensive. Instead, you've got the opposite happening. You've got so many companies that have literally picked up and left. And they've left for Florida. They've left for Texas. They've left for, Wyoming. They've left for, you name it, away. It's unclear where the fleeing Angelenos are moving. Well, we could figure that out, right? But it's not that hard. Texas, Florida, Washington State. Washington State has a large population of ex-Californians. And it's because they come up here, look around and go, I can handle the weather. I can handle the crappy rain. As long as I get these housing prices, because Washington State, even though it's incredibly expensive, it is not near what LA County is. It's just, it's not there. We're not there. So you've got people moving out for all kinds of varying reasons. The most likely one is they can't afford it. Cannot afford to live in California. You know, Gavin Newsom's always talking about how California is this massive, massive economic engine, which it is on its own. But that's because you have so many people living in California, most populated state in the United States, right? I mean, it's just jam-packed in LA County. So, you know, on top of that, you've got huge congestion. We haven't even touched on traffic. So you've got high traffic, high rates of poverty, high inflation, high gas prices, you know, lack of business recruitment. Just all of these things go in the wrong direction, and you layer on a bunch of taxes, and then you got the California way of life. Just, you know, the only place that breaks down is California's got sun. California's got sun. It's got some epic, epic weather, and that's going to be hard to overcome. You know what I mean? You can't get California's weather replicated. You can go to Florida, but Florida's got, you know, it's got some of its own issues, weather related. Hurricanes every now and then. California, you might get an earthquake. It's unclear where they're going. Greater Las Vegas area saw a population boost of more than 21,000 people last year. Well, let's see. Nevada, low tax state, pro-business. California is basically anti-business, isn't it? On my podcast yesterday was the Playboy empire moving out of Los Angeles, moving to South Beach, Miami. They're going to have their club there. They're going to have a club in Miami. And the reason I say that is because people always talk about going to the club. And I'm like, yeah, you go to the club and I will not be going. You can do whatever you want there. But Miami Beach, I mean, used to be kind of one of those, it's Florida. It's way over there. You know, the cool kids are in West Coast, Best Coast. Not anymore. Not anymore. And one of the huge reasons was that Miami is basically going to say, hey, come on in, Playboy Enterprise, whatever they're called now. We know you're only online. There's no more magazines, but we'd like to do business with you. We want to party with you, Playboy. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're on South Beach. And that's right up Playboy's alley because California is just pushing everybody away. Billionaire tax? I mean, how many people are going to sit around for that if they're a billionaire? Oh, yeah, I'd like to give hundreds of millions of my wealth away. Just boop. And same thing here in Washington State. We've got this millionaire's tax. And when you bring up the fact, you know, there's going to be a population mass out migration because of that. And then the Democrats, here's their look. And then they come up with some just absolute horseshit piece of theory as to why the wealthy should pay their fair share. And why the wealthy won't leave Washington State. It's all just a bunch of nonsense because California said the exact same thing. We think the positives of living in California outweigh the negatives. Therefore, you should just bend over and pay a whole bunch in taxes. Even Florida is in a moment of reckoning now, right? Governor Kathy Hochul, she's like, yeah, and all those people that we shooed away and said to go to Florida, we'd like you to come back and we'd like you to come back and write some really big checks to our tax system here in California, here in Florida, because they've had so many people, so many wealthy people leave New York City and New York in general and go to Florida, which is just due south, right? Why wouldn't people go to where it's warmer, better business environment, and lower taxes? And that's exactly what you've got going on. So you can fool people. You can make up stories. You can make up podcast or Newsom stories all day long about why your state is still the best. But then when it comes down to population numbers, when it comes down to the census, that's when the rubber really hits the road, right? And that's where I think 2030 is going to be a massive benchmark year because you're going to have the 10-year U.S. Census basically recounted. Everybody's going to, check in from what state they're in. And that is when you're going to see some crazy congressional districts getting changed because of population. And that is not going to go well for the Democrats, because we are seeing in real time population decline. California, Washington State, that is happening. You are seeing it happen in Oregon. You've got some of the toughest tax laws in Oregon, and you've got some of the least attractive climate for businesses or for people to invest in real estate in Oregon. So the whole West Coast is just pushing people away. And it's because they're tax and spend states run by supermajorities of Democrats, and they can't get out of their way to create a budget where they got to abide by it. They just tax and spend. So of course, they're going to have to go after the general population and just tax them to, 10 ways from Sunday. And the population leaves. And they go to Idaho. They go to Texas. They go to Florida. They go to the Carolinas. They go to Georgia, right? How about the movie industry in Hollywood just basically going somewhere else because it's too expensive to make a film in California? It's too expensive to make a film, and there's too many regulations in Hollywood. So, Los Angeles County, Hollywood is just literally losing its identity because of terrible policies, terrible tax policies, terrible policies on homelessness, terrible policies on crime. I mean, you want to talk about criminal activity, LA County, you're right there. You know what I mean? I watch a lot of car chases where the media is flying around with a helicopter and they're chasing a dude just to see what happens, right? I mean, I'll be 2 hours in watching a live car chase and I'm like, this is great. You don't even want to get up because you don't want to miss that triple barrel roll the car does when the cops put down one of those tack strips, right? Blows out his tires, guy's doing 80 miles an hour, whatever. Those are some great. But California, and specifically LA, by far, some of the best car chases of all time. I mean, it's epic. Those helicopters just chasing him. He's going under a bridge. We're going to lose him for 2 seconds. And he comes back out. We got him, Jim. We got him. You're just following along. Those are epic. Although LA County saw the largest total decline, its losses were minimal compared to other U.S. counties. All right, but we don't really care about other U.S. counties. Percentage-wise, LA's population declined roughly 0.5% between 24 and 25. 0.5%. You've got, how about Del Norte County, California, -2%. But those are smaller counties. So we've got Vernon Parish in Louisiana, -2.1%. So what you are seeing out of LA County is kind of the pinnacle of California. It is all the cumulative effect of everything's too expensive. Wages haven't caught up to the cost of living. Cost of living just absolutely outrageous. You've got massive taxes layered in there. You've got massive regulation where businesses don't want to run a business because it's not viable. How many businesses have we covered that have moved out of California? How about In-N-Out Burger? Perfect example right there. In-N-Out Burger says, we're going to move our headquarters to Tennessee because then our mid-level employees can still afford to buy a home. Can't do it in LA. LA's got some of the highest prices in the world. I mean, you've got some markets that are just, like the markets they're trying to rebuild in, where the fires destroyed. Those markets, super expensive. And is that LA County? I think there's a couple of different counties there, right? Where the fires hit. I think there were some borders in there. I can't quite remember. But just real estate alone is so whacked out relative to the, what the average person commuting 2 hours a day one way in Los Angeles traffic, paying over $6 a gallon for gas can afford. Just, it's not there. It is not viable anymore to live in LA County, to live in California. And so you've got this huge out migration. And I think where this is where the rubber is really going to hit the road is in a handful of years when we actually have the overall 2030 census. And I think those numbers are going to be shocking. because we've been following what that looks like. And that's why the Democrats are so intent on letting millions and millions of criminal illegals into the country, because that is a population base, if they let them in, that they think that they can count on to cast that vote down the road when these people get naturalized. Or they do some, jerry-rigged Jimmy deal and, you don't need to have ID to vote. That is an entire deal to allow criminal illegals to be able to participate in United States elections. At least register to vote, even if they're criminal illegals. Oh, yes, let them vote. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, got to have an ID. So this whole notion that it's hard for people to get an ID. It's not. People get IDs all the time. Homeless shelters, one of their huge tasks is to help people get a state ID. Figure out where their birth certificate is. Figure out what hospital they're born in. What hospital you're born in. Get their birth certificate, get them an ID, and then they can kind of start rebuilding their life. But if a homeless person whacked out of their mind on drugs can get an ID with a little bit of help, then everybody else can as well, right? But that whole ID thing is because Biden let in those 20 million criminal illegals. Now Holman and Trump are kicking them out. Oh, we're going to lose our voting population. This isn't good. Let's go after ICE. And then you have the No Kings, a bunch of old retired people that are paid to go out. I don't even know what the sign means. No Kings? Okay, yeah, no Kings here. No Kings here. The whole thing is just absolutely preposterous. But so much of it is dependent upon population and where that population is living and where it's going to and what's going on. I'm moving to a less populated area. I'm moving to Oklahoma City, but it is one of the top 10 cities for growth in the United States because of affordability. And it's very pro-business, and it's also very red. Don't bring your blue vote to Oklahoma City. That's a hard no-go. Don't even do it. Don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Whereas you've got like Austin, Texas, where, we just kind of do whatever we want here. It's chill. Yeah, vote for whoever you want. Yeah, Kamala Harris, she's a really good option. You're going to always have that in these big cities. Not in Oklahoma. No, even there, they're like, we're not tolerating any nonsense. Oh, and by the way, if you want to live here, you got to vote red. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear cut. But California, population exodus. The numbers are they're going to really start hurting. And there's no way to get around it, because the reason that folks are leaving is because there's so many reasons for folks to leave. And we cover them all right here on News for Reasonable People. Thanks again for joining today. Love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.